Doesn't matter.
All right, I just started the recording and it's 2:01. I'm going to start letting people in, okay?
Okay. It's just a consistent amount of water that comes through that house, like nonstop.
Yeah.
That they had to put a French drain. There's like an
Okay, here we go.
it's recorded.
Hal, you'll let us know when you want us to start.
We can do that.
As
Right
you
now,
can
people are coming into the room. We're just letting folks in.
Awesome.
Give people a minute or two. Hello, Lucy Thompson. I see Jane. I see Jessica Keith. A couple more people coming in the waiting room. As I'm letting people in, can you guys hear me okay? How's everybody today? Lucy Thompson's got a thumbs up. That means she's hearing me. All right, guys, we are going to start in just a minute. I will just ask everybody before we get going here, if you can make sure that you're not muted. And if you have a question, you can certainly raise your hand. I will manage the chat as well, so you can pop a question in chat. And this is being recorded for those who want to go back and watch this again later. That will show up in our recording library probably sometime tomorrow. And I'll give another minute. It's 2:02. Tell me something good, guys, while we're waiting, while we're getting started here. Somebody unmute. Tell me something good.
Sorry, Hal, are they two just spotlighted?
Yep, those two are spotlighted. I have it in my view. I have it set up at speaker view, so I just see the two people, and then there's a couple of other people above.
Oh, there you go. That's
Technology.
All right, guys, why don't we get going here? Let's get started.
This is the keyboard and this is the mouse pad.
Okay, we're gonna get started.
Yep.
Hi, everybody. I'm Suzanne Michaud. Some of you may or may not know me. I was an agent in the Montclair office. I'm still licensed here, but I transitioned into the New York City office last August. And I met Joan Kelly, our speaker, our guest of honor, at a Keller Williams Wealth Mastermind, and just started talking to her. She's a terrific big agent. She's part of Gary's Top 100, and she's down in Bluffton, South Carolina, and she also does Hilton Head, and she's expanding into Savannah, Georgia. She's built a really big business. She's going to have a great point of view about using leverage to scale your business, but also she's such a good person for all of you to meet. Joan had told me that, you know, she can't throw a stick without running into people from New Jersey down there. So it's great for you all to know a top agent so that you can provide more value to your clients who are moving out of New Jersey and thinking about making a move down south. So with further ado, we're going to let Shannon and Joan take it away.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susanna, and thank you for doing this, Joan.
My pleasure.
I see a couple people in the chat asking if we're having a meet and greet, and the answer is yes. And we are actually live right next to each other in the bold room. So if you guys are here, come on down and you can see us live. So I also met Joan, like Suzanne, at KW Wealth, which for those of you that aren't involved in that, and I don't know, a lot of you might not be interested in wealth, so that's not your interest, you know, let go of that and move on to the next thing. But for those of you that are, I'm particularly glad you're here today. You guys know we have a very robust investment club, we call it. And gosh, our last meeting, I think we had close to 40 people there, and well over half of them are doing investing of different kinds. So we're going to hear a lot today about Joan's career as a realtor, because we all know that even if you want to be interested in growing, if you're interested in growing wealth and doing investment things, for most of us, the grist for the mill in that is the cash machine that our real estate businesses are. So we need to focus on that first and then move into what we do with that. So what I would love to do is just brag a little bit more about Joan. Yesterday we had a 45-minute conversation and I was jumping out of my chair with excitement. In fact, probably a bunch of you got texts and emails and things from me because I wanted to make sure you were here. Joan sold over 300 units last year. And what's important to know about that is that that was completely without her being in production at all. She did this crazy little thing called follow the model and built a 7th level team. And you might say, well, yeah, but I'm sure she had like an amazing database. So she probably just, like hung out with country club friends or something. No, she started a database in South Carolina when she didn't know one single solitary person. So it can actually work. And Joan did it. And now I'm going to shut up. And Joan, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how you wound yourself into selling real estate down in the Carolinas?
Sure. I grew up in New Jersey, and I knew as I was getting older that we were going to be retiring elsewhere. We were looking for better weather and lower taxes. And my former in-laws had relocated to the Bluffton area and had reached out to us in 2004 and said there was an opportunity in a new development that they were offering some special financing. We should come down and take a look. And so our first trip to South Carolina was Christmas 2004. And we liked the area, but at that point we weren't ready to retire. But I did buy property, and in the course of buying land, had conversations with the realtor and asked a lot of questions because I've always had an interest in real estate. And based on the questions that I was asking, she said, I think you'd be really good at this. Next time you come into the area, come see me. And had a conversation with her. She was heading up a new development in the Bluffton area and offered me a job. And so I still had kids in high school up here, and we took the leap of faith, and I moved down and got my license in South Carolina. And it was for anyone, I can tell you that everything that kind of could go wrong did, and every mistake that could be made was made. So I just want to encourage people to know that there's always a path if it's something that you really want to do. And so I moved down there, didn't know anybody other than my former in-laws, and the development I was going to be working at was delayed in getting off the ground. By the time it did get off the ground, it was evident that they really didn't know what they were doing in terms of, they were building a community that was way overpriced. And I could see the handwriting on the wall, and I left that and went into general brokerage. I knew nothing. I had no mentoring. I had no training. And by the time I actually, I was down there for a year and hadn't sold a single piece of property.
How did that feel?
That was pretty demotivating.
Because let me get this straight. Your family's in New Jersey, including kids in high school.
Well, I did bring my son with me.
Okay.
I did uproot him.
So even worse.
Even worse.
You brought your son with you for this fabulous career, and for a year you sold nothing.
Nothing. And then the market started crashing.
Even better.
Even better. So, one of the things in a recent meeting that Gary had, he talked about the current market that we're in. And he said that you need to be prepared to do whatever it takes. And from that point, I ended up commuting to actually suburban Savannah to sit another community that was new construction, did nothing there. And then
So far, this is going real well.
yeah, it was stellar. And so it really was challenging. Fast forward to 2008, I was working with a small boutique brokerage, and the Keller Williams Market Center was in Hilton Head. I was working out of Bluffton, which is the mainland, and our brokerage became the business center affiliated with the Hilton Head Market Center. So I wasn't even, it's not like I made a conscious decision to join Keller Williams.
Okay, I see. So you were with another brokerage that sort of funneled into a Keller Williams, so you showed up there.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it was not a conscious decision on my part. And even worse, when I came in, I did not take advantage of all the things that Keller Williams provided. I started slowly to take advantage of that. And when I was going back and sort of reflecting on the timeline, I did show up every day at the office. We were in a great location. I did take advantage of getting some walk-in business. Did start engaging more in going out and going to brokers' opens and becoming more of an expert in the area. And then really 2011 is when things really changed for me, when we had a young team leader who came in and started pouring into me. And that's when I engaged. It was the first time I went to Mega Camp. It was the first time I started attending trainings. And then at that point, my business had started to grow. And I had read MREA, and I got to the point where they talked about building a team, and I said, I'm never going to do that. So I sort of skipped over all of that. And so didn't do it the way that, and I saw Nancy sort of smile when talking about following the models, eventually, but certainly not initially. And once I plugged in and started taking advantage of everything that KW provides, it's amazing how quickly
Really?
things started to turn.
Yesterday when we spoke, you used the phrase, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 times. Once I became intentional. What does that mean? What did that look like?
So one of the things, when I first went down to South Carolina, this was going to be my post-corporate second, I wouldn't even call it wasn't my intent for this to really be a career. It was more that this was going to become my hobby. And because I was passionate about it, I really wanted to get involved and start investing and helping people, and but never with the intent of building anything. And it was one of those things that once the business started growing, I said, I need to pay attention and have specific goals and have a plan and a path forward and plan and be intentional. And that made all the difference in the world about so many different aspects. Where are you going? What is it that you want? Why are you doing it? Those types of things that was just, every decision is in that frame now.
Okay.
What's the reason for doing it and being intentional about it?
So, and I know we didn't talk about this yesterday, but is that a moment in time where you're really focused in on what your big why is? Because nobody, I don't think, sells 300 homes a year without a reason.
Yeah, and one of the challenges that was always difficult for me was when I came into KW. Usually, for a lot of people, the first question you're asked is, how much do you want to earn? And for me, that was never the focus. It wasn't about that. Of course, I wanted to be profitable, but it wasn't about earning a certain amount. For me, it was, how many people can I help? And I was passionate about doing it the best that it could be done. One of the reasons I got into real estate was my own experience when I bought my first house and dealt with realtors. I said, this is just unbelievable to me. And when I sold my properties in New Jersey, I wasn't a realtor yet. I sold them myself just because I didn't have confidence based on my experience with realtors that I had worked with and had known. So I said, I know this can be done better. And so for me, I wanted people to have the benefit of somebody who was knowledgeable and would provide a fiduciary duty to help people. And then the whole building wealth aspect of it as well, making that part of what I wanted to do for myself, my family, and also teach others to how to do it.
Well, as much as you said you never were motivated by the money, you also said to me that you know and have always known exactly what your numbers are and that you tracked profitability, where sometimes people that run big teams are criticized, perhaps fairly, for running a massive team with massive expenses and really not turning that much of a profit.
Right, 100%. I am by nature very frugal. I am fine with being called cheap, and I've always looked at, while it wasn't the driving force, you're putting a lot of time and effort in. You're not going to do this as a charity. So yeah, being profitable was always something that was at the forefront, and I wouldn't take on expense that I knew I couldn't cover. And even with leverage, you don't add people until you know that you're going to have the income to pay them. And every hire that you make should cause your profitability to go up if you do it correctly. So yeah, always an eye on profit.
Now, you almost feel like it can't be done. You move somewhere where you don't even have a database. And I know you told me, like every other realtor around, about 65% of your business comes from your database.
Right.
So can you tell us about how you were intentional in building that out?
Yeah, I think that when I talk to team members, I think there's a lot of different ways to grow your database, and it's all about relationships and connecting with people. And I was never somebody who was going to sit down and cold call for 3 hours to people I didn't know. That does not sound appealing to me at all. And I wouldn't think for the vast majority of people that sounds really exciting. But I've always believed that pick what you like to do and then find a way for that to be your lead generation. And so pretty much any place that I went, I would absolutely be open to having conversations, getting to know businesses within town. We also had the benefit, this was during the very bad time of the recession. I did end up forming a relationship with a third party lead integrator, and they sent us a lot of leads that helped to build our database initially. But the key to doing that is making sure that you're staying in touch with those people, following up. And that did start the sort of the ball rolling. And then when you deliver really good service to those people, getting those people to then send you referrals. We have so many people, we're a destination market. So we'll have people relocate and then they've got friends and family. And so while I did have to pay, referral fees on those initial leads, they would then branch out and generate so much business. And my intent always was, I don't like paying for leads. And if you do that, you want to make sure that you're working your database to the point where they are generating a lot more business. And my goal has always been to have that become a smaller and smaller percentage of where my business comes from.
So let me tell you what I'm hearing and what I think some people are hearing. So you know that we have pretty high average price points here. And some of our successful agents sell 12, 24, 36 homes a year. That's a good business around here.
Mm-hmm.
So we're listening. I think I am. Great. We touch our database. Sure. That's awesome. That nets us 24 deals a year, maybe 36, maybe 12. How do you get that to 300? And by that, I mean, tell us specifically what you do to turn a database into 300 deals a year.
So it's been an evolution over time. So now, we've built a team, we're a team of 20. So now when I have people join the team, they come into the team and we say, we want you to upload 200, 250 Sphere into, starting, take your phone, put those people into the database.
Can they join your team if they don't do that?
No, that is a recent change.
Okay. I struggle with that a lot with rainmakers who are just getting started. They're so happy to have a buyer agent agree to work with them that they don't hold them accountable to that.
And I will tell you, I've had every limiting belief in the book.
Okay.
And it's only, quite honestly, in the last year that I have felt empowered to enforce the standards. And I'm upfront with people. We've changed from a team that's 100%, that used to be kind of 100%. We're going to give you leads as a buyer's agent. We're going to give you all your leads. You don't have to lead generate. And now I tell people you have to be lead generating. The expectation is for every lead we give you that you're going to be generating a lead on your own. So that's how you build the database, is that you're not coming in and just sitting and receiving leads. You're also going out and doing activities to add to the database. And then as a team, the services that we provide, we have client events. And so we stay in touch with the database that way. And that generates referrals, and it becomes a domino effect. So
what do you do other than client events for your Sphere database?
So we send out a newsletter twice a month.
Who writes that?
My director of it's the ops team. So my director of operations with our client care coordinator.
And what do you put in there?
We put in there, we want to be coming from value, so we give them updates on the market. We advertise, or we include our current listings. We give information on things related to home ownership that we think would be beneficial. And one of the big things that we're moving forward, and we're very heavily, our client base is very heavily 55 and older. And so now we're getting much more involved in discussions about estate planning. And we've been involved with some very challenging estate situations where I realize our clients really need to know what they should be doing. And if they don't have a plan in place, they're leaving a mess for their heirs. So coming from contribution and providing information of things that will be of benefit to our database, talking about investment opportunities. What are things that you need to look for when evaluating investment opportunities? The big thing is coming from contribution.
How many times a year would you say you touch your Sphere?
So a requirement, and we're getting better at inspecting what we expect, is that the expectation is once a quarter you're going to make a phone call. And that's the great thing about client events. It gives you an opportunity to pick up the phone, make those contacts, to invite people to events, and not that you're coming asking for something.
You're offering, not asking.
Exactly.
As a side note, let me make a commercial. We offer once a quarter in each of our 3 market centers. It rotates a client event. We have it here so that everybody can invite their Sphere. I think there's one this month that's talking about organizing. We've had redoing kitchens, redoing basements, home gym, landscaping, outdoor fire pits. So you guys take advantage of that, because if spending a lot of money on a client appreciation event isn't quite in your budget yet, we have a free option, an opportunity for you to make that same phone call.
That's an incredible opportunity. Yeah, I mean, that's
right?
that takes so much off your plate, not having to plan those
You don't even have to plan the invites. We make a graphic, you send it around. So not to steal your thunder, I
No.
just want to make sure everyone that's listening with any limiting beliefs, I can rob you of your limiting belief.
No,
So-
that's great, because we had to build everything from scratch. And when I came to the Hilton Head Market Center, there really wasn't much in the way of teams down there. And we were really the first team. I had nobody locally that I could go to and mentor. And one of the reasons I'm passionate about doing this is that my learning curve has been extremely shallow. And if I can help people get there quicker, I would love to be able to do that, because, you know, for the first however many years where I wasn't intentional about what I wanted to do and have a plan, you really, if you focus, you know, it's all the bold laws, what you focus on expands, all of those things that some people probably feel are corny. There's a lot of truth to all of that.
Would you say for you, it was that hockey stick, slow, slow,
Oh.
slow, 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 then when did it turn?
So it really, in 2012 is when we became officially a team, and that's when it really started to grow. And I wouldn't say it's quite the hockey stick, because I was always about organic growth. I wasn't looking to grow a big team, just growth for the sake of growth. And I didn't bring on agents unless there was, you know, got to the point where we needed more help with servicing the leads we were getting. And so it's been slower than a lot of people, because that's never been, growth for growth's sake has not been important to me.
Okay.
So
For the couple of people that came in a little bit late, just to recap, Joan is down in South Carolina and sells 300 units a year without being in production herself. So she truly did follow the model and build a 7th level team. So in case you came in late, I just want to make sure you're as impressed as I am. So you were talking about how you touch your database. You went over some of the things you do. I said, how many touches a year? You said quarterly calls. Is there any other number? You know, we hear 36 touch from Gary. I know for a lot of people it's higher than that. Do you track that?
yeah, I actually don't know the number off the top of my head, but I know if you're touching quarterly and you're sending the newsletters, that in and of themselves is going to get you
24,
to that, you know, that 36.
So newsletters, quarterly calls, client appreciation, any other major things that you do?
Those are the major activities.
So sometimes I hear people talk about when they go to family reunion, mega camp, whatever, they say, oh, I don't know, the great stuff there, inspiring. I didn't hear anything new. What do we hear right now, guys?
It's not new.
It's not new.
It's not new.
It's not even sexy.
No.
It's not even innovative.
No.
But you're living the life that I know you designed down in South Carolina, flying here privately with your husband to spend time with your family. Would you say that not sexy, but following the model has worked for you?
100%. 100%. I think that one of the things that I think that gives you longevity, though, is I do believe I'm very much education based. And I do always want to be in touch with what are new programs. I mean, what are things that other people are doing that are keeping them in front of potential clients, their past clients. I'm always looking to find innovative things. And I will tell you, I am not innovative in and of myself. I am great at rip off and duplicate. And, you know, I have no qualms about, you know, taking something, and I'll give credit if I can remember, you know, where exactly it came from. But, you know, some of the things that we have done, and quite honestly haven't maximized yet, are we offer a renovate now, pay at closing. And a lot of folks offer, you know, some different versions of that. But and I've fallen short on really building marketing around that. And that's one of the things that I'm focused on now, to promote it, because we've had clients. What built my business in large part was focusing on a Sun City that's in our area that now has 9,000 homes. So during the recession, when nothing was selling, people were still moving to our area, and it was down dramatically, but there were still people moving into that community. And that community started in 95. And you have some of the folks who bought back in the late 90s and then did nothing to keep those houses updated. Now they're older, they want to downsize, they want to go back to family. And those houses are worn and could use updating. And we've done a couple renovations that in one case, the seller netted over $100,000 more. And we're talking about homes that are selling in the $400,000 range. So 100,000 is a big deal. And so that's been really gratifying. And we'll go in and we'll take a look at what is it that you can put money into where you get your biggest bang for the buck. So a lot of times it's paint, sometimes it's flooring, sometimes it's changing the hardware on the kitchen cabinets or painting the kitchen cabinets. A lot of the houses built at that time frame were, oak cabinets, and you put a coat of white paint on them, does, wonders. And so we've had some good luck with offering a program like that nobody in our area, even now, is offering. And if folks don't have the wherewithal, a lot of times, these older folks, all their equity is in their house. They don't have the cash to be able to do it. We will front the money to do that work and get repaid at closing. So there's programs like that I'm always listening to what are other people doing. And that's why networking at Family Reunion and Mega Camp. I just thought of one thing else when I was thinking about intentionality. We all have to do continuing education. And one thing that I love to travel. So when I would figure out, okay, what am I going to do for continuing ed this year? I said, I'm going to start getting my designations. So, I got my SRES, Senior Real Estate Specialist. And it was being offered in, let's see, okay, that one was actually Santa Fe. I flew to Santa Fe, took the class, had a vacation in Santa Fe.
Was that tax deductible? Yes.
So that trip was paid for. And I got to network with agents in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So the next year, I got my green designation. I went to Seattle. And so got a vacation, hadn't been there before. So that was one of those things that my love of travel combined with my need for continuing education. It was just being intentional about networking with other agents is another source that is important that we've been trying to nurture.
So you were coming to New Jersey anyway. I know you and I chatted at Wealth last time. I know you come up here often to see your daughter. So you could have just come up here and seen your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could have been intentional and said, a lot of people from New Jersey, who knows why, moved to South Carolina. How could I be intentional about networking with agents? So I think you being here today is an example of that.
Exactly. And I am competitive. So when I meet somebody who's just moved to the area and they're from New Jersey, I'm like, how come they didn't work with us? and I honestly react like that. It's a curse. But I feel, I said, you know what, Joan, you really do have to get more intentional about this. Because I said, people coming from New Jersey, they're going to relate to somebody who's from New Jersey. And I want to be the one that works with them or our team.
You're very relatable. And Hal, on that note, I think you have Joan's info. If not, I think Suzanne will shoot it over to you, Hal. Would you make sure and put that in the chat so that people can take very good care of their clients who want to move to South Carolina by referring them to Joan?
We'll do that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
She's also expanding into Savannah as well. One of
Very
my favorite
exciting.
cities. Yeah.
Very exciting. You go to good places.
Well, and it's so geographically, I mean, I didn't know anything about kind of geographically. When I lived up here, I was like, all I knew about South Carolina was Myrtle Beach and Hilton Head. I've heard of both of those places. And they are very, very different markets and at opposite ends of the state. So we are only 10 miles from the Georgia border. So Savannah, from where I live, is a half an hour away. And one of the things I like about where we live is half an hour to Savannah. I'm just under a half hour to Hilton Head. I'm a half an hour to Beaufort, which is our county seat, which is, all these markets are very, very different and wide ranging in price point. And we're an hour and a half south of Charleston. So there's a lot of different types of opportunities. We've got the county next to ours is very rural right now, but that's the next area for growth. So you've got everything from where you can buy acreage and be away from everybody, or have an oceanfront property. So we've got a wide range of different things that can fit people's whatever it is they're looking for.
I'm thinking if I were still an agent, I might take advantage of the fact that New Jersey is the second largest exodus state right now. And I might do a webinar, which would cost no money, with my client base and invite them and bring in people like you and people from other places where New Jerseyans tend to go.
Mhm.
And I think that would be a great marketing thing for all of you guys, for your clients, that would cost nothing. Hey, thinking of moving out of New Jersey, today we're going to have Joan talk about different areas in the, Raleigh, Charlotte, Savannah area. Find some friends in Florida, do the same thing.
Right.
Would cost nothing. It's some great touches for your clients.
Absolutely.
And it might end up in a listing as well.
Yeah.
So when you talked, I love that you have this very calm demeanor, and we've already established that you follow a system. Yet what I'm also hearing is you found a niche,
Mhm.
at least one more than another one. You continue to be learning based. You look for ideas, then you take them and try to be intentional about elevating them.
Yes.
So when I hear about the renovating and pay it at closing, I'd love you to talk a little bit more about that. And again, I guess I'm feeling like I want to be the limiting belief buster today, but there might be people who say, well, I wouldn't be able to afford to do that. First of all, there's a lot of other ideas out there that wouldn't cost any money that you could think about doing. But second of all, even with that idea, I can think of ways that you could do that if you couldn't afford to front $10,000 to $60,000, which is what you do,
Right.
right?
And and not in all cases, we've done it for folks who do have the funds to be able to do it. So there's cases where, you don't need to be funding that money up front. You also, if you can find vendors, the intent, and it's a little bit different market now, but if you can find vendors who will agree to wait to be paid until closing, that's another possibility. So, and if, we do it interest-free, but if you come up with a compelling plan for somebody, it may be worth it if you could find somebody who would be interested in working with you, that would lend the money for a program like that. So, there's a number of different
Tons of
ways
ways
to
to do
approach
it.
it.
Tons of ways. My brain is, from our wealth mindset, thinking of tons of ways that you could do that. Against 401ks, you can use Keller Offers, which has some more hurdles to jump through, but it's out there. Partner with a vendor.
Yep.
So get creative with that. How important do you think it has been that you have really worked in a niche versus somebody that really is just more of a generalist?
I think that when you work in a niche, you get to be known then for that niche. And I think that's helpful. We just expanded into Savannah, and it's really one agent on the team, her personal administrative person and her showing partner live in Georgia. So that made a lot of sense for them. I had one of the other new agents on the team said, should I be going over to Georgia? And I'm like, no, don't spread yourself so thin. Try to narrow as much as you can. And I know as a new agent, that's really hard and it's counterintuitive. But I think if you're focusing on something where there are enough people that are in that category. I remember during the recession, there was a colleague and he was like a frustrated golf pro, and he lived in a golf community, and he advertised that he was your gated golf community expert. I can tell you the market that got impacted the most during our recession was gated golf communities. They weren't selling at all. And I'm like, why would you focus on that? And it's just like farming, they say, focus on areas and neighborhoods where you're turning, like 7% a year. Because if you're focusing on something where there's not enough turn, that makes no sense. You want to set yourself up in a situation where you've got more opportunities. So in our area, we've got quite a few retirement communities, but even the folks that are moving to the area there's a lot of people retiring that are just buying in non-retirement communities. So it's a huge portion of the people moving to our
And they
area.
might eventually need to go to a retirement community, so you've got some flow there.
Yep.
I know that you also have a pretty heavy real estate investor hat.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about your investorship world?
So we figured out when there were a lot of foreclosures in our area. There was a lot of investment going on in our area in that 04, 05 timeframe. Investors from across the country. You could buy a new construction home in the $150,000 price range back then. And so they were getting gobbled up like crazy. And what ended up happening was, and you're all familiar with the financing that went along with that. And when the market crashed, a lot of those investors walked away, and we had a lot of foreclosures. And so I started going to the foreclosure auction, the county foreclosure auction. And I am, when I'm really not comfortable with something, sometimes it does take me a while to be really, really sure that I know what I'm doing before I pull the trigger. I probably went to the county auction for close to a year, just observing, because it was very stressful to me when they would, start bidding and all of that. And even for the years when we did do it, I would always insist my husband had to be the one that would bid. It was just very nerve-wracking for me. But we bought over that time frame, I forget the exact number, somewhere in the 40 to 50 range properties. And some of those we kept as long-term rentals, but to be able to build our pot of money available to invest, we ended up flipping a lot of those. And some of them were in great shape. Some of them needed minimal amount of work. We would drive past a property and just make sure that it wasn't a total wreck. But a lot of these houses that were going to foreclosure were only a few years old. So it was really a crazy time. And we bought a lot of properties for under $100,000, and were able to turn them around, get them in good condition, and get them sold relatively quickly. And we only had so much money. And so I said, well, there's got to be, where else can I get money? First, I turned to my brother, who had always been a great saver. And I said, would you like to, I'll pay you more than whatever it is you're getting in interest in the bank. And I would borrow from him to buy and then get it turned around really quickly. And it was a win-win for both of us. And then I looked further into it and found out I could purchase properties in my IRA. And we were able to, and that was a lot of what we did. And it really grew our IRA account substantially. And so we ended up keeping about a dozen of the properties. And again, this is one of those lessons of, it's not all roses. My life was getting more complicated just with other things that we were doing. And I said, the rentals, I'm like, I don't know, do we really want to be spending the time? We really should have hired an assistant to help us and just turned it over to them, but we didn't. And so we sold all of the properties but one 2 years before the market took off this last time. So there was all sorts of opportunity missed there, but it's, who would have thought that one of the properties I sold right at the beginning of COVID, because I thought, and it was in Savannah, and I thought, yeah, this is not going to be good. And that was a bad decision. But
But how much percentage terms, how much did you make on those properties? in
oh
the duration
gosh,
That you held them?
it was over 100%. Yeah, so yeah, no
Good, bad
tears.
decision, right?
Yeah, not yet. Right.
And I think a lot of people don't know very much about how you use your IRA to buy real estate. Do you want to talk to everybody a little bit about that?
Yeah, so you have to have a third party. I mean, Schwab doesn't do this for you, and there's all sorts of rules about it. And it's interesting because you cannot sell the property to anyone who's, bloodline to you. So we had a situation, my stepson lived in Highland Park, worked at the Frog and the Peach, and during COVID, everything got shut down. He moved down to our area, got his real estate license, and I said, we'll sell you one of the last properties that we had. And so because he's a son, our son, we actually had to take the property out of the IRA. So that became a distribution. So that was, one of the things that you have to be aware of.
Mother's love.
Yeah.
Will pay taxes.
And then that he bought it and it appreciated 100,000 in 6 months. And he goes, I may just sell it. And I said, you will sell it back to us, because I said it cost me $70,000 in taxes to take that out.
So what I think you guys should know, because it can help you in talking to your clients, and it can help you in this fact that every single one of you, if you're not already buying investment property, should be making a plan to do so. You take your IRA and you put it in a self-directed fund. And if you need help finding those, you can call me. I know what they are, or reach out to Joan. And that's good information for you with your clients as well, because I'll bet you'd like to help them buy an investment property, and they may say they're not liquid, but you can do that with IRAs. And I originally was told you couldn't do it with 401ks, but I've now found a company that you can do it with 401ks as well.
Yeah, there's more companies that are doing it now. And you can take it a step further, because when we were first doing it, you had to, all the paperwork had to go through the third party. Back in the day, for us, it was called Lincoln Trust. And so all the documents had to be sent to them and they had to review it. But then we set up an LLC that we were able to bypass that, and our CPA, was sort of the one that was overseeing, almost like a broker. And so it got much easier. So there are ways to do it relatively.
It's actually very easy now.
It's very easy.
Very easy. You can do it in about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So, so you sold most of your investment properties? You still have some.
We have one left. One left.
And I know I told you yesterday that what I hear in you is that you're always looking at the horizon for what's next.
Yeah, so the reason, I mean, right now we're trying to figure out what's next. And so I was saying during lunch that, in our market center, we've got 3, market center and 2 business centers. We're renting all those locations. The leases are all coming due. So now we're thinking, okay, do we want to buy commercial space? And so I would be an investor in that. And we're in the midst of getting ready to sign an offer. And so that would be my first real commercial venture. And so something new. I am my own worst enemy in terms of adding more to my plate. And so I'm just fascinated. I'm a compulsive learner and I've got tons of curiosity. So I'm good about putting myself into unfamiliar situations that forced me to learn about it. So this is very different, looking at potentially buying some commercial space. So, and that's going to be a lot more than the $100,000 I used to spend on investment properties.
Bigger mental chunk, right?
Yeah.
Do you have favorite areas that you would suggest people look at if they want to get investment properties out of the very tax-friendly state of New Jersey?
So I'm going to be really transparent here. Prices have gone up in our area, and investing in our area today is much different than it was when I first moved down there. The conversation that I have today with investors, I think in our area, the best scenario is that it's a beautiful area. If it's an area where you envision spending a part of your time, the people that are happiest with investing in our area are people who are also going to use the property themselves. There are other places in the country, our prices have gone up dramatically. There are other places in the country where you're going to get, honestly, a better return, better cap rate than you will in our area. But if you're looking at, well, I may want to retire there, and if I buy this property now and take advantage of, you know, the breaks that you get by having investment property, that's a great way to do it. And I would encourage that. If you're looking strictly at return, honestly, our area is not going to be the best option, in my opinion, in the country.
That's great. Does anybody have questions?
Go for it first.
What about this, the area you mentioned that's sort of up and coming, and there's lots of undeveloped land? Do you think that could be an interesting investment?
Yeah, and you know, the challenge on a lot of this stuff has been what's the time frame? And I think that you know, one of the things, and this is going to sound really strange, especially where we're sitting right now. We closed a $5.5 million beachfront property in January. We also have a lot of people that are looking for mobile home lots. And so I've said, we literally probably have at least a dozen people that are looking for that. And I'm like, okay, my thought process has always been, how can I solve a problem? I'm like, should I buy some acreage in one of these rural areas and subdivide it? And so in that case, you're taking something and, you know, increasing the value fairly quickly. It's in the back of my mind. It's not at the forefront because of other things that we're looking at.
And what area were you
She just mentioned
Yeah, she-
Like the rural areas.
The rural areas, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
That are still relatively close proximity, because a lot of those areas, there hasn't been the change, and we're not quite sure. There's a new port coming into our area, you know, just south of Savannah. They're supposed, and we've seen price appreciation already. And then in Savannah, they're bringing in, I want to say it's Hyundai is building a plant. I mean, one of the things that we learned in KW Wealth is trying to find those locations where companies are coming in, and there's supposed to be 37,000 new jobs in the Savannah area. And one of the reasons we expanded into Savannah is suburban areas of Savannah still have some of the lower price points that our buyers have gotten priced out of in our area now. And that was really the impetus for expanding into Savannah, to try to help those folks. So I'm always looking for solutions. In our area, we don't, 90+% of our area, you cannot put up a for sale sign. The area has all been developed since the 90s. They all have HOAs, covenants. And so there's no such thing as sign calls in our area. So you have to get creative on what are you going to do to get more visibility. We also don't have a lot of billboards. So I bought a transit van and had it wrapped. And I tell the team, anytime you want to borrow that van, anytime you want to take it anywhere, that is just a traveling billboard. And I would want, I don't know, I'm always trying to think of solutions and ways around to solve a problem.
Jeff, I saw your hand up.
Just a couple of real quick questions. The breakout of your business, is it 50-50 between buyers and sellers?
I wish.
Yeah.
So because of having built the business during the recession, it was all buyer based. All buyer based. And we've been striving to get to, I would love to be more seller based, but we're at this point, we are about 1/3 sellers, 2/3 buyers. But we are focused primarily on attracting seller leads at this point, because we have no problem with getting buyers.
I'm just curious, because you talked a little bit about how you got into real estate, but what is your background? What did you do when you were living in New Jersey? What kind of work? Because I have an eclectic background. I'm just curious.
My degree is in food science and technology.
That's cool.
Totally unrelated. I worked, when I got out of college, I worked for General Foods at their tech center in Tarrytown. And they relocated the group that I was in down to Cranberry, right? The old city service, right at exit 8A, that building that has changed hands. It was city service.
You lived down there when you.
I lived it down, yeah, Mercer County is kind of where I grew up and worked. So I was in the food industry, and then I ended up working for a flavor and fragrance manufacturer after I left them. So yeah, totally unrelated, but I was always very interested and passionate about real estate. But I was a single mom for a lot of years, and commission-based income was not going to be something that was going to work well for me. So I couldn't pursue it until when I remarried. My husband supported it, and we bought our first rental property in the Poconos. And so we did that for a few years when we lived here. And we were constantly, at that time when you could get home equity loans and it didn't cost you anything. I mean, I refinanced my house. I can't even tell you how many times to get to the point, you know, where we were doing those kinds of investments.
Well, you take it, one more question. Can you tell me your email? Because what I'd love everybody to do is help you build your database. And if you guys could all right now open up your phones and let's send an email so that you can easily connect.
Awesome.
Right? So what's your email?
Joan at
AN at,
joankellygroup.com.
what am I forgetting an A in there?
Yeah.
Joan Kelly Group.com and your phone number?
843
843
540
540
2501.
25. Any social media that we should be snagging?
Joan Kelly Group, yeah, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram.
Joan Kelly Group.
Mhm.
Okay. So if you guys found value today, whip out a quick email, let her know so that she can easily.
The other thing is Joan could add you to her mailing list, so you guys can get familiar with price points in areas for your clients that are thinking about retiring.
Absolutely.
You'd be more informed and you'd better serve your clients.
And we just sent out our first agent referral newsletter last week. So I will make sure that I get everybody added to that.
Does anybody else have a question? I mean,
Can you talk a little bit about the structure of your teams and how many people are there? I just need to know about this slide.
Sure. So I've got 4 full-time admin who are mostly in the office. I've got a director of operations, transaction coordinator, listing manager, and client care coordinator. We have a VA. My director of sales has her own admin and her own showing partner. So we're working through, you know, building the team within a team. And we've got a husband and wife on the team who, you know, I've been working through leverage trying to get everybody to make sure that it's great to be successful, but if you're running 24/7 and, you know, you need to be enjoying your life. And they do about 50 transactions a year. And they work together. So I mean, they really are one agent. It's not that they don't divide and conquer. So they just brought on their first part-time admin assistant. I don't know if I mentioned we have a VA. And then the rest are agents. One who's been trying to retire and keeps getting calls from past clients that she ends up kind of coming in and helping, but the rest are active.
That person sold their business to you?
No, she's been an agent on the team.
Okay.
It's funny because when she first moved down, she relocated, she lived in Long Island. I was her agent that worked with her, helped her buy her house. And then she decided she wanted to get into real estate. She got her license. And, you know, as we were talking about lead gen with her, she moved into in Sun City, Hilton Head, and she was very social. And she had a group that she became part of, the Mexican train group that met on Tuesday afternoons. And as she got busier with real estate, she goes, I've got to stop this. You know, I need to be available on Tuesday afternoons. I said, absolutely not. I said, that's your lead gen. I said, you enjoy doing this. You enjoy these people. Those women have referred so much business to her. And I said, you enjoy doing it. I mean, you can turn anything that you do. If you like tennis, if you like to golf, I mean, you can turn all of that into lead gen and build your database.
How can we add value to you?
Awesome. If you know of people that are heading that way, I would love to talk to them. And I am nothing if not 100% transparent and honest. You know, the question about investing, I'm not going to try to tell people, yeah, this is going to be your best investment. One of the things I don't like about South Carolina from an investment standpoint is it's great as a resident, but as an investor or even a second homeowner, you pay a different tax rate. Our non-primary homeowners pay our school tax. I think that's grossly unfair. Yes. Now, that being said, our taxes are significantly lower. So you have to go through and it's very easy for us. We reassess every 5 years. I know here, depending on where you are, I mean, you can have the same assessment forever. But so it's at least predictable.
And it's a very landlord friendly state.
Very landlord friendly. Yes. So that's a positive. But
How we can help you. It's
Oh,
like just
sorry.
keeping you in mind.
yeah, no, absolutely. Yes.
Oh, just, because I came in late, referral partner I put down Savannah, South Carolina, where exactly are we talking?
So we're talking the very southern tip of South Carolina, Hilton Head. The county that I'm in is Beaufort County, which has 3 very distinct different areas. Hilton Head is the resort. Mainland is Bluffton, and then you've got Beaufort, which is also where Paris Island is. So we do
What is?
Paris Island, which is the marine,
base.
the marine
Yeah.
base. So we do have, that's something else we've gotten more involved with as well as helping our military clientele.
Was this helpful, guys?
Yeah.
Thank you so
Oh my
much.
gosh.
Really.
Absolutely. And if there's anything, I mean, reach out to me if you have questions on, you know, any of the things that we're doing or how, you know, if you're getting stuck somewhere. I can tell you I'm the queen of limiting beliefs. There's a lot of things that I've taken a long time to implement, and I've tossed aside and come back and revisited, tossed aside, you know, showing partner. I have a lot of limiting beliefs about that. We still don't have an ISA. We tried once, and I still have some limiting beliefs around that, but I think I have a better understanding. You know, we're at a point we're not big enough where I'm going to have a team of ISA ISAs, and I've heard all sorts of stories that if you have one, it's very difficult, so. I'm more than happy to brainstorm about anything that you need help with.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I did say I have a client, she's not quite ready to move yet, but she's in Verona, but one of her important needs is the healthcare quality, what the hospital would be around her, what the hospital specialize in, is it cancer, is it heart? Which is interesting, we deal with young families and the school system's important, but for seniors, I guess that is important to them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, we have Hilton Head has its own hospital. There's one on the mainland. There's one in Beaufort. There's, two larger hospitals in Savannah. So, I mean, they're all relatively close. We've got MUSC, Medical University of South Carolina's in Charleston. So depending on what it is, in terms of specialized care, I haven't had a need yet to go to MUSC, but occasionally I have gone to Savannah because maybe depending on what it is that you're dealing with, there may be more specialized doctors there, but
Yeah.
there are a number of hospitals and options.
Can I ask you another question?
Yeah.
So you said like this is like was sort of a second career that grew into a very large career and that you were thinking about retirement in the future. I mean, what do you think about when you think about maybe succession and moving out of what you did?
So that is an area that I have failed fairly spectacularly. I started thinking about secession in 2015. I had open heart surgery in 2015, and I made my first attempt at hiring somebody that I thought might be able to help with that secession planning. And the one thing I give myself credit for is I recognized fairly quickly that I had made a mistake. One of the things that I hadn't taken advantage of was reaching out and looking for advice and coaching on exactly how to do that. So that didn't work well. Then I hired somebody else